want to make sure that I acknowledge the sponsor of the show, Tiege Hanley, because Tiege Hanley sent me this new pack. They sent me the new Tiege pack, so I just literally pulled the paper out, got it out of the mail, and I started going through it, and I got a little bit more excited than I should. You know what I'm saying? So they did send me the Tiege pack, and I don't even know what this is yet. So I'm assuming this is what you get when you first order your Tiege, and I don't know what this is. Oh, this is dope. This is absolutely dope. Is this a nail kit? Ladies, get this for the fellas. Fellas, don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. This is free. This just comes with it. 30% off your first order, plus 20% off for life. Literally. Oh, snaps. I didn't know that they were sending it like this. Real talk. So this is the nail kit that they sending you. All right. So now you ain't looking like a dusty. This is a free gift straight from Tiege for the people that ordered the Tiege. They got the small one for the little hands like mine's. They got the big joints for your toenails. And then they got the joints at the bottom too. You know what I'm saying? For y'all that's a little bit more crustier than usual. All right, so that's one of the free gifts that Tiege got inside of the pack. And then, what is this? Says, squeeze a quarter-size amount of Tiege Hanley body wash on the center of the wet bristles. Lather, scrub, rinse, and repeat for the perfectly satisfying wash every time. So that's inside of there also, right? Ooh, I can get my rubber ducky on right here. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Tiege for sending me that uncomplicated skincare for men. And then what we got in here? We got the actual Tiege pack, right? So this is the normal Tiege pack, but then they gave me the supersized joint for the people. They wanted me to show the people exactly what they got when they ordered that first Tiege pack, when you're getting your 30% off your first order, and then you get your free gifts. You get 2 free gifts, and then the 20% off for life. So the 20% off for life is a new thing. And dang, I ain't even got my keys on me to open this up. Maybe I can use the little nail clipper thing. I ain't got to buy no nail clipper for my new joint downtown. And then you get all of the washes, all of the scrubs, all of the AM, the PMs, and all of that stuff. So you got the whole thing inside of there for you to make sure you take care of yourself. But you got to make sure you take care of it every day. Right? We don't want to miss days. We don't want to be looking like dusties. It does not absolve you from being able to make sure that you brush your teeth. Brush your teeth. It don't fix the teeth problem. Don't fix you ironing your clothes. Don't fix you being able to take care of your business. But it absolutely makes sure that your skin is phenomenal, even when you go in between shaves. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Tiege Hanley. We absolutely appreciate you. Thank you for continuing to hold us down. I might do an official Tiege commercial, but I like just talking authentically to the people. I like giving the people the authentic look of what it is that you're dealing with, and I want you to hear from me personally, because anybody can do that little pitch and they can make some little videos, but very few of us can actually speak to the products of exactly what it is that you're supposed to use. So yeah, Tiege Hanley, 30% off your first order, and then 20% off for life. That's the Anton Daniels pack, 20% off for life. Using any other Tiege pack, make sure that you go ahead and let that go. And make sure you tap into the link that's in the description and take care of it, all right? What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Welcome to the Millionaire Morning Show. It is Thursday, June 13th, 2024, year of our Lord. And you guys are here with me, season a day, making sure that you take advantage of the opportunities that's in front of you, and then adding value as you see fit. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Shout out to everybody that tuned into the live stream yesterday. I thought that the live stream yesterday was absolutely awesome, especially considering that I did make the decision to go ahead and transition away from live streaming on Wednesday nights. I'll get to that shortly. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I want to give an early shout out to my dog, Mike That Dude. Shout out to Mike That Dude, holding me down on Cash App. I appreciate y'all. What's up, friends and family? Azriel, Sister, Zeal, Jennifer, Emperor, Mr. BX87, Glow. What up, Glow? Universal Trappers, Tech Coach Ralph, What's up to all of my friends and family out here in these streets, man? What up, Tia Marie? Carla, what's going on? So listen, y'all, listen. Let's get straight to it. Again, this is the Millionaire Morning Show, and it is Thursday, so that means that it's one more day to the week, one more day to take advantage of the opportunities that's in front of you. First and foremost, I want to make sure that I acknowledge the sponsor of the show, Tiege Hanley. Tiege Hanley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. The link is in the description. Make sure that y'all get that Tiege pack. Make sure you get the Tiege pack. Ladies, get it for the fellas. Fellas, don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. That's it. Also, if you're not a bag chaser, what'd you say, Lauren? Happy Gay Pride, Anton. You know, we haven't forgot. What? Y'all some wild boys in the chat today. Nah, we don't do that. We don't do that over here. You know what I'm saying? I respect everybody's right to be able to do whatever it is that they're allowed to do legally. But I don't necessarily have to agree with it. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, go and do whatever you need to do, but don't necessarily force it upon us. So, nah, I'm not going to say happy none of that. I know y'all want to steal whole months for yourselves, but nah, we not doing that over here at the Millionaire Morning Show. I'm going to just set that correctly right now, all right? So, y'all some wild boys. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. The video that we live streamed earlier in the week, as far as doing a stock club, is now re-uploaded for you guys to rewatch. So that's dope. And is it anything else? I don't think it's anything else right now. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and get into the show and identify what it is that we gonna make changes to going forward. All right. So really quickly, I don't want to spend any more than 9-10 minutes on this subject, but last night, in the beginning of the day, prior to us live streaming last night, I decided that I no longer was going to be doing live streams on Wednesday. All right. Now, the reason for that was not because I didn't like Wednesday live streams. As a matter of fact, I thought that paring it down to just an hour and then making sure that we continue to run it up and add value to y'all lives as much as possible was an awesome change. It was the right change, and it exposed some of the snakes that I had in my circle. And so you cannot imagine how appreciative I am of God continuing to progress me in order to make sure that I not only weed out the people that's not supposed to be around me, but I continue to modify the platforms to add value into y'all life. Let me go ahead and get the distractions out of here early. We're not going to do that this morning. Anyways, my point is that moving it down to an hour was awesome because I was able to more quickly get my point across, add value into people's lives, and then, move on with my day, get a lot of sleep, and then continue to progress the platforms. However, change is good. Change is good. I am an advocate for change. And even though people see things and they say, oh man, I like it, let me tell you something. We like the first iPhone. But the one thing that you'll see on these platforms, as far as the ones that I'm a part of, is that if constant change is not a part of the DNA of what it is that we're doing, then we don't want to do it anymore. We got to move away from it. It's previous platforms that I used to be on, and they doing the same thing over and over. And the one thing about innovators is that they set the standard, and then everybody else tries to play catch up. But some people get caught in being the same thing that they was, and they never evolve. They never grow. They never progress. And for me, I'm not trying to be the same thing that I was yesteryear. I'm certainly not trying to be the same thing that I was 2-3 years ago. And one of the reasons that I leave up some of my old stuff or all of my old stuff that you see is because I like to look at what it is that I've graduated from as I continue to evolve. And so in the same way that we embrace change and evolution when it comes to corporate America and our businesses and so on and so forth, it has to be the same thing when it comes to content creation, at least for me. And so change also can be uncomfortable, and I recognize that. I recognize that it may be a little bit difficult for people once they get set in their ways to experience something, but once I start doing it for about a year, I have to start evaluating it. Even in corporate America, if I'm at a place for about 2 to 3 years, I start getting the itch and I'm like, you know what? What's next? What should I do in order to continue to grow either with the company or evolving beyond the company? Because I have some projects under my belt. I have some successes. I've made some great connections and friendships. We've had some accomplishments. But what's next? And so that's around the time that you start getting things together. You're refining your resume. You're making sure that your LinkedIn is aligned. Social media, clean it up. You're starting to pitch yourself. You're starting to align yourself with the people that's saying, hey, Anton, all this time they've been keeping in touch with you and saying, hey, if you ever interested in moving or whatever, so on and so forth, and you start entertaining offers, because guess what? I have to continue to progress, and they'll pay you more to leave than they will to stay. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't stay at the organization, depending on what your intentions are, but we got to continue to progress. We got to continue to grow. I'm not trying to be the same thing that I was yesteryear. And if you look at the incremental progress that we make on these platforms every single year, you even look at the thumbnails, you look at the software, you look at the studio, you look at the growth, we continue to grow year over year over year over year. And then our audience grows with us. And when I look at a lot of these live streamers or people that I used to think was my competition, they still in the same space doing the same thing, no progress, no investment into their platform, no investment into their people. And so I don't want to be that way. Eventually, I want to look at and grow and compete against the biggest of platforms as far as when it comes to this news content. And I already think that I believe, or I already think and I believe that what it is that we do on the Millionaire Morning Show is the best morning show out here. If you look at the graphics, if you look at the content, if you look at the entertainment value, if you look at the insight and information that you get from it, nobody is messing with us. And so the only thing that we focused on is continuing to progress and grow, and then continuing to promote the brand because they have more promotional dollars, but we got better content and we better creators. And so eventually people got to recognize us. But the only way that they can recognize you if they can continue to see progress. If you go to one place and then you go to the other place and you go to this place and you continue to see the same thing over and over again, listen, people already copied the blueprint that we built when it comes to the panels. That was something that I innovated on other platforms and then continued to progress through it when it came to what it is that we're doing on Monday nights, so on and so forth. That's a fact. But now when I look at the landscape, I see a duplication of it, but it's the same thing that we was doing like 3-4 years ago, and people still doing the same thing. They ain't got no progress in their subjects, content, platform, none of that. And I'm not tripping because it makes it easier for me to continue to eat up market share. And so while everybody else is chasing these little pennies, we trying to chase the giants. And we not trying to chase them as far as trying to partnership with them. We trying to chase them as far as doing it independently and getting the majority of the profits. And so the only way that you can continue to progress and grow is by being uncomfortable and forcing yourself outside of whatever it is that you're used to doing in order to continue to push a better product. And that's exactly what we're going to do on the Anton Daniels channel, what we're going to continue to do here on the Millionaire Morning Show, and what we're going to do on After Hours and all of the other platforms that we are part of. And I absolutely 100% think that you guys are going to love. And it's going to be some tinkering and some refining. And we got a whole studio and we got more investments. I got 2 more employees that I hired, some more producers, some more editors. And, you know, we cooking up, we pushing times around, we switching things up. I'm 100% in love with what it is that we did with the Millionaire Morning Show. When we first switched the time over from 11:45 a.m., 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern over to 7:15, 7:30 in that time slot, a.m., it was a lot of people that was uncomfortable. But guess what? When I look at the data and I look at the statistics, it's all pointing towards it was the right move. You have to continue to change. If you guys are still working at the same place that you was 5 years ago, but you don't have no intention on continuing to grow, then you're just waiting for something to happen to you. Eventually, everything gets outdated, everything gets over-innovated, and people move on. But if you're not evolving with the times, if you're not embracing what's going on from a technological perspective or from a professional perspective, and you think that the only thing that you can do is continue, I laugh. Listen. I laugh when I look at live streamers sometimes, and they got the same thing that they had going on 5-6 years ago. You telling me that you still doing the same thing that you was doing in 2019? Same time, same background, same haircut, same t-shirt. Still doing the same thing. Why do I feel comfortable saying this out loud? Anton, you giving them the clues and the gems because they not gonna do nothing anyway. Of all of the advice that you give on a regular basis, I don't care if it's financial advice, I don't care if it's creation advice, whatever. People, it's only maybe 1 or 2% of the population that's gonna take that advice and run with it and do anything that's productive with it. And when you're a creator and when you're an innovator, you don't worry about the competition. You just continue to innovate because it's just in our DNA to be serial entrepreneurs and innovators. And so I don't care about saying out loud, I'll tell you what I'm going to do before I do it, and I'm going to still beat you at it. I'll tell you what I'm going to do before I do it, and I'm going to still beat you at it. And there ain't nothing you can do about it. Because you're not going to outwork me. You're not going to be consistent. You're not going to take the monies that you make and reinvest it back into your businesses and your platforms. You can't keep up with me, and you're not going to make more money than me. In no way, shape, or form. I don't care what you do. I don't care how many subscribers that you get. You not going to out-earn me in no way, shape, and form. And the only thing I'm going to do is get better. And the unfortunate part about the competition a lot of times is that a lot of times they have pure talent. They're more talented than me, but they just don't have the work ethic. They don't have the consistency. They're not going to outwork me. They are more talented than me. That's a fact. I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that you are better than me as far as your God-given abilities, but the things that you can control, you're going to lose. Because work ethic beats talent 10 times out of 10. Work ethic beats talent 10 times out of 10. So what you guys can expect on the Anton Daniels channel next week is some phenomenal content, new formats, new clips, changes, evolution, platforms, investments, all of that stuff. And this is the most beautiful part about it. We're going to evolve the content. We may take bits and pieces of what it is that we talking about, but I'm not interested in talking about the same things that I was talking about last year. I'm not. Some of y'all are one-trick ponies. We know what you do. God bless you. I think that that's awesome for you. Get it as much as you can. But I'm not interested in talking about the same things that I was talking about yesterday. I may talk about a little bit of it, or I might evolve what it is that I think is important in order to source from it. But once I hit it and I beat that thing with a hammer, it's time to move on. And so I want to continue to progress the conversations. I want to continue to push the narrative. I want to attack certain things that I think is more important for us to be able to communicate about in society. It is so many other subjects and so many other things that we need to address. And I don't just want to keep talking about the same thing over and over again. And so either your audience grows with you or they stay stagnant and you find new people. But either way, we progress, we move, we evolve, and we continue to be innovative. And so it's time. It's time to let that go. It was great. If you love that content and that's what you want to continue to see, then watch my old videos. It's going to still be there. But I can't be the rapper that came into the game that was rapping about being in the hood and coke, but then I'm rich now and I'm still talking about the same thing just because it sells. I can't. Because when I came into the game, this was a documentation of my life in addition to the ability for me to continue to add value. And if I show no progress year over year, then I'm doing something wrong and I need to reevaluate whether or not I still want to be in this game. The minute that I stop innovating is the minute that I'll give it up. The minute that I'll stop innovating is the minute that I give it up. And so I'm looking forward to what it is that we got planned for you guys. We're going to work harder. Actually, we're going to give you more content. We're going to do greater things. If you guys want to be a part of the Bag Chasers, make sure you tap in. Link is in the description. And we're going to continue to innovate. We're going to continue to innovate. We're going to continue to change things. We're going to continue to reevaluate what it is that we got going on every single channel on a regular basis. I meet with my people. I meet with the people that is closest to me. And we say what works, what doesn't work, where do we want to be, and how do we get there? And that's what we do. The same thing that we do in corporate America is the same thing that we do in our own personal lives. It's the same thing that I do in my relationships. And it's the same thing that you're going to see on these platforms. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. You guys are absolutely awesome. I'm looking forward to taking this journey with you. And let's get it started. So again, welcome to the Millionaire Morning Show. For you early risers and for you birds, you see me keep adjusting the camera because as the sun comes out, I got to make sure that I adjust whatever it is that I got going on with the camera so that you guys can absolutely positively get the best experience here on the Millionaire Morning Show. I got new cameras coming in. I got new everything. So looking forward to it. Thank you guys for continuing to rock with me. I love you. I appreciate you. And let's get started with the show. Let me read a couple of super chats, and then we're going to get it popping. Highly Offensive says, I got that fireball for you, big dog. Thank you, Highly Offensive. Thank you for rocking out with me. Trini Life says, change is inevitable. You have to roll with the tides. Bless up to you and yours. Shout out to Trini Life. I appreciate you, Trini Life, for rocking out with me. All right, y'all ready to get started with the Millionaire Morning Show? You know what it is. Quick Hits, ladies and gentlemen. Quick Hits is a segment of the show that we don't think that we need to just say or implement or embrace using this or dedicating this to one subject in particular, but we definitely want to keep you guys informed on what's happening out in these streets. First things first, crazy brawl at a coffee shop over in New York. Check it out.
Caught on camera, a wild scene unfolding at a coffee shop in Upper Manhattan.
Surveillance footage here shows a group of people chasing a man into the shop, and at some point he gets stabbed.
All right, Fox 5's Jessica Formoso is live outside the shop in Washington Heights. Jess.
Stephen, Natasha, wild to say the least, and that surveillance video really details exactly what took place here yesterday just before 6 p.m. I mean, in broad daylight. We did speak to the owner and the manager of this coffee shop. The manager, Juan, tells me that he saved that victim's life because those suspects were here to kill him. A chaotic scene playing out inside Milo Coffee Shop on Amsterdam Avenue in Washington Heights. The owner, manager, and employees of the shop fighting off a group of men who stabbed a man inside their kitchen. Punches and chairs flying in every direction. It was all caught on surveillance video.
Who's the guy? I'm trying to figure out which one of the guys is the op.
When this shirtless man storms into the coffee shop. He first pushed the door open and went into our kitchen. Okay, he was laying on the floor. He looked tired. Seconds later, this group of men, who police say were...
Yo, that's wild. So they had already it looked like they had already got to him and got at him prior to him even coming into the coffee shop. He went in there looking for help, and then they went in there to come after him in the middle of the daytime, in broad daylight, in New York City, in Manhattan. Y'all just some brazen criminals nowadays.
Chasing the victim, ran in and went straight to the back. 4 of them began to stab him. I tried to stop them with a chair. According to the NYPD, the suspects stabbed him in the neck. Juan Reyes Garcia, the manager, says he grabbed a chair and started pushing the attackers off the victim. He says they were going to kill him. They wanted to kill him the way they were stabbing him, with all their might and
That's
anger.
Crazy.
The suspects tried to escape, and that's when the family who owns the business, they jump into action. My nephew showed up, and that's when the struggle began. We were fighting them, trying to help the victim. Chairs are being thrown. A woman is even seen jumping over the counter. She ran to get the owner, Miguel Angel, who was next door. He says his 4-year-old son was inside the coffee shop with his wife, and all he thought in that moment was to save his family. I went to defend my family and my business. There was a man with a knife. My brother and my uncle grabbed chairs and kept fighting him off.
They wasn't expecting that.
Now, the victim was rushed to the hospital, police telling us that he is now listed in stable condition. Now, no arrests have been made in this case. Police are looking for 4 suspects, 2 who are wearing all black and the other 2 are wearing gray sweaters. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. That number is 1-800-577-TIPS. Now,
yo, it's wild over there in New York. That's insane. Hold on, let me see something. If anybody recognizes any of these culprits, you know what color they are and you know what they look like. If anybody recognizes any of these culprits, make sure you call Crime Stoppers. And I hope that the guy that survived snitch on every last one of them and give an identity. Yes, we need snitching back. Somebody said that city needs Giuliani. Facts. Facts. Jesus Christ. In addition to that, suspected terrorist was caught over in Los Angeles, all linked to ISIS. Check it out.
The suspected terrorist had been under surveillance by the FBI for quite some time. All 8 men are allegedly connected to ISIS.
What people need to know is it's not the first and it won't be the last.
Thomas Homan, former director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, isn't surprised one bit by the arrest of suspected terrorists in Los Angeles, New York, and Philadelphia. The men from Tajikistan entered the U.S. from the southern border. They were released into the U.S. after their background checks came back clean. Homan says Border Patrol agents are under immense pressure to process and release people quickly.
Border Patrol agents cannot do investigative interviews. They don't have time like they're supposed to have investigative interviews to find out who you paid, how you came, what routes did you take. They're not doing that because there's not time.
Could you please explain to us the process in this type of investigation?
The Bureau will do a deep dive on their history, on anything from social media posts to anything they can find in writing, to any associations they have.
The FBI had been monitoring the suspects for several months, and while they have not been charged with having an actual terrorist plan, Homan believes a thorough investigation will reveal otherwise.
There's no way they know that information right now. This is going to take an investigation to find out how they're related.
The biggest takeaway in this case, according to Homan,
people. How can you possibly be able to vet through who's who and what's what when all of those people are passing through the border? I mean, we literally have millions of people passing over into the border, and we have no idea how, who, what, when, where, why, and how these people are going to be moving inside of the United States of America.
Homan should be this.
National security should be a nonpartisan issue. We know this is a vulnerability. Do something about it.
Homeland Security and the FBI issued a statement that says, in part, the FBI and DHS will continue working around the clock with our partners to identify, investigate, and disrupt potential threats to national security.
Shout out to Homeland Security, the part that's not working with Biden. Anyways, and then last but not least, protesters in New York City was calling for Zionists to get off of a subway train.
Back in the U.S. tonight here in New York City, authorities are describing that chilling anti-Semitic scene on the subway. Protesters asking, quote, Zionists to raise their hands and get off the train. Authorities say others defacing the home of a museum director who is Jewish. And tonight, the New York City mayor's warning about this hate. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, this video shows a frightening moment on a New York City subway car when protesters demanded riders raise their hands if they're Zionists.
Raise your hands if you're a Zionist! Raise your hands if you're a Zionist! This is your chance to get out! This is your chance to get out! Okay, no Zionists, we're good.
The train held at Union Square for a police inspection. Officers in riot gear seen on the crowded platform. Protesters clashing with police.
I told y'all needed to quell this in the early stages of it and get control of this in the very beginning when it started to happen all on these campuses and it was canceling graduations and stuff like that. And now that school is out for the summer, for most people, they deciding to move it into other places where they can basically disrupt and then spread their message. This is the beginning of something that is not going to be conducive for the United States of America. I've already said this. I knew that this was going to happen, but now you got people on the train that's disrupting what's going on the train, and now they're clashing with police and protesters.
Just come from a rally where the flags of terror groups Hamas and Hezbollah were waved.
Hold on. Y'all ain't got nothing better to do? Nothing? You telling me you ain't got no job to go to, you ain't got no value to add into nobody's life, you ain't got nothing that you can do that's actually productive. Your entire existence is based off of disruption and making people's lives miserable.
Another saying, long live October 7th. Protesters breaking through barriers, setting off smoke bombs and flares outside an exhibit remembering the victims of the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. The Monday incident, part of an escalating series of provocations that go beyond protest and into what Mayor Eric Adams has called overt, unacceptable anti-Semitism.
I thought it was despicable. It was disgusting what we saw. And you cannot call for peace while you're celebrating what happened on October 7th.
And this morning, vandals threw red paint and posted a threatening sign at the home of the director of the Brooklyn Museum, who was Jewish. On the door, they painted an inverted red triangle, a symbol.
How is this not a form of terrorism, intimidation, and then basically, because see, At first, y'all was like, no, this is peaceful protesting. Now they throwing red paint on people's homes and painting symbols. This is literally history repeating itself all over again. This is how it starts. This is how it starts. See, y'all so worried about Russia, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Y'all so worried about Russia. Shout out to Philip Jackson. I'm definitely going to be reading that in a short amount of time. Y'all so worried about Russia that y'all forgetting that it happens right here in little seeds, right here in your own backyard, in your city, in the most popular city inside of the United States of America. This is how it begins. Throwing paint on somebody's house. See, first it was peaceful protesting. They should, hey, respect our rights. Make sure that you do this. Make sure you do that. Now they throwing paint on people's houses. Now, again, I don't really care what you stand for, but once it starts crossing the line into being violent and beyond peaceful protesting in any form or fashion, you need to start arresting these people and start having this conversation. Somebody said it's just paint. It's just paint.
Used by Hamas.
David, this vandalism, police say, may be the work of the same people who splashed red paint on the ground outside a Palestinian office here in Manhattan and scattered leaflets that called for more violence against Israel.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is your quick hits. All right, let me acknowledge the supporters of the platform really quickly before we get into the real meat and potatoes of the show. Pookie's friend Ray Ray is in the building, says New York needs arrow or bet. This whole country need it, bro. I ain't even gonna cap. The whole country need it. Cyrus B is in the building, says the live from last night really made me turn my grind up even more. I appreciate all of the content, big bro. You know I had to get that coaching call. Shout out to Cyrus B. I appreciate you for supporting the platform. Also, I want to give a big round of applause for my guy, Philip Jackson, right here on Cash App. Shout out to Philip Jackson. You sent that 100 ball, big dog, directly to me. I ain't even got to split it with YouTube. Oh, man. He sent that 100 ball. He said, but this is for something in the collection plate. Shout out to my dog, Philip Jackson. I can't believe y'all be loving on me and supporting me the way that y'all supporting me. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. You're absolutely awesome. It does not go unrecognized. I never ask for it, but I always got to make sure that I acknowledge what's going on out in these streets. I also finally want to acknowledge one more super chat before we get into the next part of the show. Self-Made Forever says this could be the beginning of another red summer history in America. Never forget. I'm telling you, you got to stop this in its tracks before it gets into anything else, and then y'all got to keep it moving. Also, the people in the chat before we continue with the show, y'all got to be mindful not to entertain and give any visibility to trolls. So when people come in and they say stupid stuff like, oh, it's just paint, they looking for that. They thrive off of it. They need it in order to feel relevant because they have nothing really good to contribute into the conversation. And so because they can't be fruitful, they then be disruptive. So the more that you ignore them, the more that you act like they don't even exist, they'll leave, they'll go somewhere else and go and troll elsewhere where they can get some visibility and feel better about themselves. So when y'all see it, just ignore it. I'm paying attention to it. You know I like to interact with the chat. I'm paying attention to it. Just ignore it. Don't even act like it even exists. And then we go from there. Shout out to John Wick in the building, says we will look back 50 years from now and wonder how the last bastion of free in the world got destroyed. That's a good point. That's a good point. So it's almost like crazy people. You know what I'm saying? When you see people on the street and they dancing in the street, if you start acknowledging them, I was looking at somebody dancing like, you know, one of them drunk people, they was dancing in the street, and then they got these little trolleys that you can go and drink on and all of this stuff. And so when the people is playing the music on the trolleys and they acknowledge the dude, the crackhead that's dancing in the street, he start getting more belligerent. He start doing all kind of crazy stuff. And I'm like, man, if they would have just ignored that dude and let him be the crackhead that he was, we wouldn't even be looking at him trying to entertain every car. Now he hitting on the cars and stuff like that. It's the same thing when it happens with trolls inside of the chat. The more you acknowledge them, the more they want to engage. But just let them, you know what I'm saying, drown in their own thoughts and their own piss and urine, and just keep it moving so that we can continue to be productive over here at the Millionaire Morning Show. We evolving. We ain't on that type of nonsense. Anyways, to more pressing news, Russia is mobilizing outside of Cuba for drills, they say. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications. Let's get to it.
The big news making international headlines: a nuclear-powered Russian submarine and 3 Russian ships arrived in Cuba today. What are these warships doing so close to the United States? CBS's David Martin reports tonight from the Pentagon.
Having passed just 30 miles off Florida, a 4-ship Russian flotilla pulled into Havana today, led by a warship and a submarine, both armed with guided missiles and greeted by a 21-gun salute. While the submarine is nuclear-powered, U.S. officials say there's no indication it is carrying nuclear weapons.
We, of course, take it seriously, but these exercises don't pose a threat to the United States.
It's not the first time Russian warships have pulled into Cuba, but U.S. officials say this appears intended by Vladimir Putin as a high-profile response to the Biden administration's support for Ukraine. The frigate has been used in the past to test one of Russia's newest hypersonic missiles.
We're always constantly going to monitor any foreign vessels operating near U.S. territorial waters.
2 American destroyers plus 2 ships specially equipped with sonar for tracking the submarine, along with Navy patrol planes, even sail drones, shadowed the Russian flotilla as it made its way across the Atlantic.
Whoa. What was that, a sail drone?
Drones shadowed the Russian flotilla as...
Is that a real sail drone or is that an illustration?
Along with Navy patrol planes, even sail drones shadowed the Russian flotilla as it made its way across the Atlantic into the Caribbean.
A sail drone? I didn't even know that they had sail drones. Ugh.
Russian ships are expected to remain in Havana until next week before getting underway again, perhaps for Venezuela. When they do, officials say, the U.S. Navy will start shadowing them again. A nuclear-powered submarine in Havana evokes memories of the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, but National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said today there is no evidence Russia is transferring nuclear missiles to Cuba.
It's funny because if you look at this whole proxy war, which is basically, several different nations, including the United States of America, participating in the Ukraine war by continuing to supply them with money and arms and missiles and all of this stuff. All we basically doing is playing chess, and I'm sure that there's more to it, but essentially we're fighting Russia through Ukraine. And, when you think about, and I've been following this for a long time, and obviously we knew that this was not going to be a quick war, and they basically wiped out half of Russia's military. They destroyed Ukraine in the process, but they wiped out half of Russia's military and then also destroyed half of their sea fleet. I personally, I know that we're supposed to be concerned for this because this is a military drill and all of this stuff. I personally am not concerned about this whatsoever. I think that this is just posturing. This is retaliation, or they're going through military drills in order to basically say that we don't agree with the fact that the United States of America has allowed for Ukraine or supports Ukraine now targeting actual targets within Russia itself instead of defending itself against a Russian attack. And so now basically they're saying that we don't like the fact that you're supplying weapons and you agreeing with the idea, or you're supporting a Ukraine war in which now they're not only on the defense, but they're also on an offensive as far as targeting actual military targets inside of Russia itself. Let me look at it from another lens. And then we're going to continue to go from there, because I always like to use multiple different sources in order to be able to determine whether or not I actually agree or disagree with the move.
It is a scene reminiscent out of the Cold War, and the message, well, it couldn't be any clearer.
Yeah, 3 Russian warships and a nuclear-powered submarine arrived in Cuba a few hours ago. They're taking part in planned military exercises in the Caribbean, but the real goal is essentially a projection of strength by Russia on the world stage. It's being very closely watched by the US, and it comes amid rising tensions between Washington and Moscow over, of course, the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, CNN's Patrick Ottman joins us now live from Havana. Patrick, this could be a conversation reminiscent of something we would have been discussing decades ago, and yet here we are. The U.S., we know, has been monitoring these ships very closely. Talk about the significance of it. The U.S. intelligence doesn't believe that these ships are armed with nuclear weapons. Nonetheless, just 90 miles off of the coast of Florida.
Just 90 miles off the coast of Florida and only about 50 yards from where I'm standing. Right behind me there are the 4 Russian naval ships that came into the port of Havana this morning. The ship directly behind me is a rescue ship, an icebreaker, which does not have much use in the Caribbean. And then behind that is a nuclear-powered sub, the Kazan, something Cubans say they've never seen before in this country, a nuclear-powered submarine coming in for all to witness into the port of Havana, really something quite unusual. And then behind is the Gorshkov, which is one of the most modern military ships capable of firing cruise missiles that Vladimir Putin possesses, really highest level technology that the Russian Navy can boast. So those are for all to see. They are docked in an area a few years ago you would have seen American cruise ships, but because of U.S. sanctions, they're no longer allowed to come here. And right before we came on air, I could hear the sailors singing the Russian national anthem. So it certainly felt like a moment from the past. You know, it wasn't that long ago, of course, that the Soviet Union was supplying Cuba.
Hundreds of thousands, not just thousands, hundreds of thousands. Let's be clear.
With everything they needed here, and the economy was doing much, much better as a result. We have seen some of that come back over the last few years with the war in Ukraine, where Vladimir Putin, in exchange for Cuban support in that war, has sent more oil here, more food. There are a lot more Russian tourists here these days, and that is helping Cuba as the economy is really in some of the worst stage that it has been in decades. Literally, Russian oil, in many instances, is keeping the lights on when they are on here. Because for much of the time, there are nationwide blackouts taking place. So Cuba has increasingly voiced its support for Vladimir Putin's invasion in Ukraine, and Vladimir Putin has returned the favor. Certainly striking to see the ships here behind me, armed with nuclear weapons or not, so close to the United States.
Yeah, and just obviously, yes, very alarming. But just in terms of what Cuba has said about this, Patrick, Cuba's essentially saying, look, this is standard practice. We do this frequently with countries that are sort of friendly.
Yeah, but at the same time, the timing of it, based off of what it is that we're learning as far as the Biden administration's position and new revelations of what's going over in Ukraine, that's the real issue. The real issue is basically posturing. Is more posturing. And it's basically Russia saying, "Arr!" And the U.S. sent warships over there in order to monitor the situation and say, oh, okay, we paying attention. But they still haven't moved off of their position to continue to supply Ukraine and also agree with the idea that, you know, retaliating on Russian targets within Russia. I'm just amazed. Well, no, I'm not. I'm not amazed at how long this war is going on. All wars last for a long time. No war is quick. So whenever they said that it was going to be a quick coup, I never believed that in the first place.
To Cuba in terms of their own naval units. And as you pointed out, Cuba also saying that, look, there are no nuclear weapons on board the ship. There's absolutely no threat whatsoever. But still, talk us through how closely the U.S. Navy is watching this.
Well, the U.S. Navy essentially escorted them into Cuban waters as the ships, while they were in international waters, were essentially skirting the coast of Florida. So certainly they're watching them now. They will be keeping an eye on them if they depart from here and go to another U.S. adversary, the country of Venezuela. You know, the U.S. has naval maneuvers around the globe as well. They certainly have a much more active Navy right now than Russia's. So this is something these countries...
Somebody said, Putin said using nukes is on the table. This is more serious than y'all think. Listen, if somebody is actually wanting to do something, they're not going to announce it before they do it. I mean, that's a basic human characteristic. It's like somebody coming up to me and saying, man, you know I'm a killer. I'll be like, yeah. Or them being online and saying, man, you know what, I'm a killer, bro. I'm more worried about the guy that go to work every day that's frustrated with his boss than the dude that come up to me and tell me how much he a killer. Honestly. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take it serious. Obviously, the United States of America is deploying, warships and they monitoring the situation because everybody monitors everybody anyway. But all I'm saying is, man, hey, listen, nukes are on the table. Like, stop it, buddy. Stop it. Because if that's what you was looking to do, if you was looking to surprise attack, I'm sure you wouldn't announce it.
They keep a distance from another as they shadow one another's ships, and there's a certain amount of professionalism there. And yes, it's true that many other countries send their Navy ships here on friendly visits, such as this one. They allow the Cuban public sometimes to board their ships, as we expect to take place later on in the week here with the ships behind me. But of course, the relationship that Cuba had with Russia for so many years during the Cold War is very, very different from those relationships. No other nation in the world has based nuclear warheads here. No other nation in the world was so supportive of Cuba. Cuba was essentially a client state of the USSR for many, many years. And you hear Russian officials saying that they want to invest more in Cuba, that they want to help the Cuban economy grow. But they also sometimes lament that Cuba remains a communist-run state and Russia is not anymore. So even the Russians, despite the years of that close relationship, have trouble.
Tia Marie says, watch Trump's interview with Dr. Phil. He literally said this is one of his biggest fears, this, nukes, and the border. Okay, cool. Well, listen. Tia Marie, I also want you to consider the source. As much as I think that Trump should be president of the United States of America, I do not take everything that he says at face value, considering that he's trying to win an election. Well, what else was he supposed to say? You know what? Not that big of a deal. Of course he's using marketing and other platforms in order to spread a message so that he can try to win the election. Objectively speaking, I mean, listen, just because I actually think that he would be the better pick and a better candidate as far as being the president of the United States of America, don't mean that I can't see through the BS when somebody is trying to instill something in you in order to get you to swing your election or your vote one particular way or another. He understands marketing and he understands how to communicate in order to get people to make an emotional decision, just like everybody else. I do not take everything that everybody says at face value, even if I think that they will be the better candidate for president of the United States of America. Of course he's going to say, oh, this is my biggest fear. Well, he's basically trying to say that Biden is incompetent in his ability to be able to run the United States of America, especially with regard to war. So is he the better candidate? I believe so. But I also believe that he's making sure that he's saying something a certain way on certain platforms in order to tap into your emotional state so you can possibly make an emotional decision. So, you got to consider the source, you got to consider the circumstances, and you also got to make an informed decision.
Making anything happen in Cuba these days, which really says a lot about Cuba's economy and the entrenched bureaucracy here. But Cuban officials saying that simply U.S. sanctions have pushed them back into the arms of their old ally. But of course, the economy in Russia certainly is very different these days. Russia no longer able to finance Cuba as it once did.
So, yes, the United States of America, and I like to keep you guys informed on what's going on internationally and nationally here on American soil of what's going on, just so you guys can be informed, so you can have conversations outside of here, and then you can make your own decision as to what you think. I'm going to give my opinion. I'm going to break down what it is that I think, as I just did, and then you guys can make your own informed decision as a result of it also, all right? So just be mindful of it. I'm not saying that it's not something that you shouldn't take serious. Absolutely. But then at the same time, this is not something that's uncommon, and it happens all the time on a regular basis, all right? Let me read a couple of the super chats and the Cash App, and then I'm going to continue on with the show. The name Joe says, good morning, Mr. AD. My Apple stock is up 15%. Shout out to the chasers. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Eagle Eye Prepping says, all that effort to monitor the ships, but no concern about what's actually walking across the border. These folks love playing with our tax dollars. I'm more concerned, and that's exactly my point. I'm more concerned with who's crossing the border than what's overtly in front of our eyes. Never let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. I'm more concerned with what's walking across our borders unvetted than I am about what it is that's being postured in a normal procedure as far as the drills that's happening over in Cuba. I am way more concerned. So, that's the thing that I'm hitting on. That's the thing that I'm paying attention to the most. Keyfield says those Russian and Cuban female Olympic ballers are tougher than the WNBA and don't care about some ballyhooed rookie from Iowa or the money she gets. Okay, Keyfield, I appreciate that super chat. Dialect 1 says no country would dare start a war with the United States of America. I don't know about that, buddy. Maybe, maybe not. AL says workout number 2, Bible read for 30 minutes, meditation complete, homework done, business research done, job work ahead of schedule. We winning. Shout out to the Chasers. Shout out to my dog AL. I appreciate you for supporting the platform. I also want to give a special shout out to my dog Chris James. Shout out to Chris James on Cash App says, and you sent the 100 ball too. Dope morning show. Oh man, Chris, let me give you another round of applause. I love my rich friends. I love my rich friends. Thank you, Chris James. Thank you, Philip Jackson. Thank you to everybody that continues to hold me down. I love and I appreciate you guys. You guys are the ones that I do it for. And shout out to the Patreon members and the Bag Chasers. Make sure y'all hit that link up in the description in order to run it up. All right. The worst governor in America, I've declared this. This is not a headline. This is not something that people is saying across the internet. We've also often coined Tiffany Henyard the worst mayor in America. We've often, and I don't know how true that is, but all optics is pointing to Tiffany Henyard absolutely being one of the worst mayors in America for sure. But I believe that Gavin Newsome, more than Kathy Hochul, is the worst, more than J.B. Pritzker over there in Illinois, is the worst governor in America, bar none. And I don't even think it's close. I think that Gavin Newsome, with the amount of money that he's spending and the deficit that's happening over in California and raising a minimum wage and inflation, and just a year ago, based off of all of these government incentives and the extras, they was operating at a surplus, and now California itself is operating at an extreme deficit. Meanwhile, this is what he's making sure that he's advocating for on a ballot measure. Now, again, he's not advocating for public safety. He's not advocating for making sure that he helps business owners. There's no conversation about being accountable for the billions of dollars that's being spent on building up luxury homeless shelters. None of that. I want to preface this by saying that I'm being objective, because you guys know, just as I was objective about the last segment, that I have to give credit where credit is due, but I see no credit to be given to Gavin Newsome because he has accomplished nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, over in California. It is the worst ran state in the United States of America, without a doubt. But Gavin Newsome is out here doing this.
Newsome is kicking off a campaign to add the right to gay marriage in the California Constitution. Voters in November will ultimately decide this.
KCRA 3 Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala explains why some state lawmakers say that this is important.
In November, California voters will decide whether to enshrine the right to gay marriage or marriage equality into the California Constitution. Here at Manny's in San Francisco, Governor Gavin Newsome kicked off the campaign backing this.
Somebody in the chat says Tiffany is more clumsy. Gavin did more damage. Here's the difference. Tiffany only has control of a small city called Dolton and then Thornton Township. Gavin has control of one of the biggest, most prosperous, as far as tax revenue, states in the United States of America. Imagine if you gave Tiffany Henyard control of California.
A handful of LGBTQ plus lawmakers and other leaders were there for this event, including former Senate leader Tony Atkins, who is running for California governor, State Senator Scott Wiener, and Assemblyman Evan Lowe, who is running for Congress. Now, this effort primarily tries to remove a part of the state's constitution that says marriage is only between a man and a woman, but this language hasn't really been acknowledged or used legally in the state in recent years. The governor says this is also about being proactive, bracing for what a conservative United States Supreme Court might do next after overturning abortion protections.
That's what this initiative represents. It's a recognition, again, of the urgency of the moment we are living in. And states are on the front lines of those rights battles. And
y'all do know that this guy is the biggest distraction ever, right? There is no better way to capture the people's attention from the lack of money that's going into public safety or the defunding of police inside of California than to play on people's emotions about something that is not even of concern in the first place. The Supreme Court is not even remotely looking at anything related to marriage over in California. Not even a little bit. How do you get people distracted from the real issues? How do you get people to focus on the fact that they can't even go shopping and then drive to their homes without somebody following them home and robbing them, and there being no repercussions and consequences to the criminals? Because it's not just defunding the police and all of that. It's also defunding everything related to making sure that they hold people accountable when it comes to the criminals that's perpetuating all of the violence and the stuff that's happening over in California. How do you get people distracted from the fact that minimum wage jobs is taken away from and they're closing small businesses in California at a rapid rate, and people are leaving the state more than they ever have before? Well, you make sure you introduce a ballot initiative to make sure that they instill this in the California Constitution. Jesus Christ.
that's why it's imperative that states like California step up and assert themselves at this critical time.
Now, we should note Governor Gavin Newsome is launching this campaign after, as mayor of this city, directing it to issue the first gay marriage license in the country. Reporting in San Francisco, Ashley Zavala, KCRA 3 News.
Ain't gay marriage been in California or been in San Francisco for like 20 years? Let me see something. When was gay marriage? 2004. 2004 was the start date of same-sex weddings. It has been 20 years. That's insane. That is absolutely insane that it has been 20 years since San Francisco, 2004, same-sex weddings, February 12, 2004. After San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsome directed the city country clerk to issue marriage licenses, he was at the forefront of it. Yo, I didn't even realize that at that time, Gavin Newsome was the mayor of San Francisco. Now San Francisco is trash, and then y'all elected him to be governor of the state, and he's running that into the ground too. I never knew. I never put it together. See, that's why I got to do my research live. That's why I got to do my research live. So while y'all being distracted with something that he's introducing into the California Constitution, this is what he's doing with regard to the budget for the state, especially for the police, even though we need more police over in California, and we need to give them the tools they need in order to be able to do their job.
California Governor Gavin Newsome is proposing a new plan to defund the police and the state's justice system, while the state is still reeling from a surge in crime. The Democrats' proposal includes slashing $97 million from the court system and another $10 million from law enforcement and more than $80 million from the prison system.
Listen, if you live in California, I want you to pay attention to what's going on. See, we could sit here and we could debate about what's right and what's wrong and all of that. But I also want you to pay attention to what's going on with regard to the budget. Because at the end of the day, we could talk about politics, news, Russia, Tiffany Henyard, closing your business, Chicago crime, Cuba. We could talk about it all. At the end of the day, I know that you love me based off of where it is that you allocate my monies. And so when we pay taxes and you start to have a conversation with your mayor and your governor, and then you see where it is that they allocate that resource, And California has some of the highest taxes in the nation. In the nation. I mean, you taxed on everything. You taxed on breathing over in California. Gas prices is insane. That's why the electric movement starts over in California. It started in California. You know why? Because they've been suffering way before gas prices started to come over here. They taxing y'all to death over there. You can't breathe. After you get your paycheck, then you got to be overly taxed on the gas that it takes in order for you to go back and forth to work to go and get another paycheck. Sales taxes. I mean, all across the board. Social services, y'all paying for luxury homelessness. $97 million. So it's not just to the police officers, it's also to the justice system itself that makes sure that our courts, our laws, Jesus Christ, this is amazing. This is amazing that y'all don't see this for what it is and y'all completely ignoring what's happening across our country, especially, and California is the armor bearer. They're the ones that starts the movement, and then it spreads over into the rest of the red or blue states in the United States of America, depending on how well it goes. And so they cut $97 million to trial court operations. I mean, you can't even prosecute criminals. $10 million is cut to the Department of Justice Division of Law Enforcement. $80 million is being cut to the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. So that means that they're going to release more criminals, won't charge people, and then they're not going to enforce our laws. Of all of the things that we need to cut a budget to, and that your tax dollars is going to, they saying that we not going to protect you.
Former San Francisco police officer Joel Aylworth joins us now to react. Joel, thanks for being with us. It's pretty shocking. I think most of the nation has already realized that defunding law enforcement, defunding the criminal justice system has been a massive mistake. And yet in California, this is the place we're looking to save money.
Yeah, it's no surprise, I mean, to see this play from Gavin Newsome. I always say there's no bad teams, there's just bad leaders. And he continues to show up. And we see this, though, typically. There's always a cycle of hiring surges and then hiring freezes. It probably happens almost every decade. But right now, they've got a massive budget deficit, and this is where they're looking to cut the corners. And if you just look at areas like San Francisco, where I used to work, I mean, they went from an overtime budget of $25.3 million in 2023 that was projected, and it actually ended up being $81 million. So they spent $55 million more on overtime, and they still can't curb the crime crisis. They had like 200 stores from downtown Union Square leave. Proactivity in San Francisco is down 55%. So what do you think is going to happen when they cut allocation to resources? It's just going to get worse.
The office spokesperson for Governor Newsome is saying the following: the reductions to prison spending will not impact public safety or result in the release of inmates. Savings are being achieved by cutting costs, including through the deactivation of beds.
What? The reduction to prisons spending will not impact public safety or result in the release of inmates. Savings are being achieved by cutting costs, including through the deactivation of beds. Jesus Christ. Fleece Johnson would have a field day over in California. Fleece Johnson would have a field day over in California.
You know, Joel, you mentioned what you kind of described here is a death spiral, because part of what's happening in California is a lack of revenue because people are businesses, as you point out, but then high net worth individuals and also just regular citizens of California moving out. We know this. Idaho, Arizona, Texas, they're moving out of the state, reducing your revenues. Now you make it less safe to be in California. This spiral will continue.
Yeah, and what's happened so far? I mean, let's do this. Let's increase the gas prices. I think they're like, what, $8 in California? Let's add a gas tax. I know, even better. Let's just take away your gas stoves. I mean, none of his solutions are working. And I just saw Senator Kevin Kiley posted that they spent $53 million on illegal immigrants and Medicaid. And that number is projected to be $3.8 billion in the next year. So they're doing a lot, obviously, to fund other things like, in San Francisco, for another example, the homeless are being offered alcohol. I mean, these are just insane.
What? What? What are y'all talking? Come on, man. He got to be capping on that one. I called cap. No way in the world. Let me rewind that real quick. I just got to hear what he said. No way did he just said that.
So they're doing a lot, obviously, to fund other things like, in San Francisco, for another example, the homeless are being offered alcohol. I mean, these are just insane policies and protocols.
Man, what is he talking about? Hold on. I don't believe that even for a second. Nope. You're not gonna convince me that that's true. I don't believe that even for a second. No way you're gonna sit here and convince me that I'm not going for it. San Francisco residents furious over program giving free alcohol to the homeless. What? Hold on. San Francisco decision to provide free beer and alcohol to the homeless sparked an uproar when residents. How are you going to give some? That's some boy. Hold on, the managed alcohol program. All right, so let me see this. This can't be real. No way. I did not know that this was true. Managed alcohol program is a program meant to reduce harm for chronic alcoholics. The program involves providing a regular dose of alcohol to individuals with alcohol addiction, typically at a shelter-based harm reduction center. You gotta be kidding me. No way, no how. This cannot be real. What? Centers operating a managed alcohol program are distinct from typical homeless shelters. The latter usually enforce abstinence from alcohol, whereas the former permit alcohol consumption in managed doses or specific areas. These shelters ensure that high-risk homeless individuals can avoid exposure to extreme weather conditions, assault on the street, alcohol poisoning, or substitution of non-beverage for alcohol. No way. What? No, I did not do a segment on this before. I just cannot believe this. Hold on. They are also distinct from wet shelters. Okay, hold on. March 2006. Jesus. Such programs enable individuals to reduce alcohol consumption, improve hygiene, and improve nutrition and overall health. This is insane. This is insane. I did not know that this is real. What? Every day I learn something new. Every day we over here at the Millionaire Morning Show learn something new. I was not aware, and now that mine eyes have been opened, I absolutely 100% think that this is the worst governor in America.
I mean, where we could be spending our money in a different way. And, you know, I think if California is going to survive, it's not going to be through law enforcement, clearly. And they're going to need to look for other disruptive solutions. And I think there's people out there like Chris Eggers from TLB Security. They're using.
Governor Newsome is the worst governor in America by far. Absolutely. I did not. Wyatt, you cannot be more accurate. We're the biggest panderers to demonic behavior. This is crazy. This is crazy. Anyways, that's your California, ladies and gentlemen. Don't say Anton from AntonDaniels.com did not warn you. Don't say that I did not provide you with the information in order to make sure that you guys understand exactly what's going on. Jay Denoir, 89, says, this guy is slicker than Gordon Gekko. This is a distraction to cover his $20 per hour minimum wage failure and mass exodus of residents. And you know that they can't put that genie back in a bottle. It's not like you could reduce wages. Wages never go back. The name Joe says, so they're going to repurpose the police money to fund new homeless shelter in LA. Yep. Facts. That's a whole fact. Spider Clamp says, That's why they manipulate stats to make things seem better than they actually are. Hashtag word games. I appreciate you. Hardhead says, just join the Chasers. Let's get it. Shout out to the new Chasers. Bag Chasers in the building. I appreciate you, Hardheads. That link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. AR Smitty says, where's the weed homeless shelter at? Facts. Let's all go get Pookie's friend Ray Ray says, you go to that homeless shelter to get a drink to make the shake stop. We call it maintenance drinking. Oh, I need a drink. I need a drink. I need a drink. All right, y'all. Let's continue over with the show. We got to get into the meat and potatoes of what's happening out here in these streets, y'all. Chicago mayor. All right. So I try my hardest. I can't even lie to you. Everything in me says, don't do Chicago today. Let Chicago breathe. Let them boys have a time. Let them have a moment. Don't hold Chicago accountable today. We don't want to do it. We don't want to do it. We don't want to hold Chicago accountable. Anton, look for all news stories and mine out all of the different things that's going on in your email and just avoid Chicago. Filter out Chicago, and it never fails. Mayor Mohawk, on a regular basis, not even weekly, it's a daily occurrence. I'm telling y'all, listen, I've heard your calls and your cries. You said, leave Chicago alone. Let us please have our desolate, destructive place and let us drown in our sorrows over here in Chicago. And I said, okay, all right, I'm not going to talk about it. And then no sooner than that, I get two things. I get a distress signal. Batman sends me a new article about somebody that died innocently. And then I get Brandon Johnson's reaction to it as far as if he's going to actually do anything to help the people in Chicago. Well, I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, new news over in Chicago and new reactions from Brandon Johnson's thought process as to how it is that he's going to solve crime over there in the city. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. I'll let you to be the judge this time.
A family grieving the loss of a 19-year-old woman shot and killed while driving her car late last night.
CBS 2's Sabrina Franza talked with her family and has the latest on the investigation.
Her family told us about a woman so kind she would give others the shirt off of her own back. They want justice for a victim so young, they say she didn't even have a chance to fully live her life yet.
She was carrying, she did not deserve this at all. Sister, I'm so sorry you had to go through that, and I love you. We love you so much, baby, and I'm sorry I wasn't there.
Caring, selfless, funny. Clutching a photo of 19-year-old Kyra Magby, her family mourns her.
She was loved. She was very much loved.
Her mother broke down. The grief just too much.
They took my baby away from me over something real senseless. It was senseless. It was just too much.
Magby played varsity basketball at Englewood STEM before she graduated in 2023. Last night, police tell us Magby was driving this Chevy Malibu when she was shot in the back just after 11 p.m. on Halstead near West Garfield Boulevard. They believe a silver SUV approached and someone inside opened fire. You can see what appeared to be bullet holes in the windshield of the car. She lost control of the vehicle, crashing into another car. Was not alone when she was shot. Another 19-year-old was cut on her face and was taken to the hospital in serious but stable condition. She was in the passenger seat. Detectives took the surveillance video from the liquor store next to where the crash happened. Debris lined the street hours later from both cars. Kyra's family is hoping extensive video evidence will help police make an arrest.
I'm just trying to let the detective do their job and just bring justice to my sister because she deserved it.
Detectives say the person responsible fled in that SUV. The other two people who were in that crash in the other car, driver and passenger, both sustained minor injuries but are otherwise okay. There are no arrests at this time.
So nobody ever get arrested in these robberies and these hits and these gun violence articles that we go over on a regular basis. And it's really every day. I mean, it's every single day. And, you know, the police chief and Brandon Johnson will come to us and they will say, Well, you know, guys, it's not as bad as it was last year, and we're going to juke the stats a little bit. Crime is up, but hard crime is down slightly, right? And so we see these guys out here, and they have these quote-unquote large gatherings. Y'all don't remember when Mayor Johnson said that they have large gatherings? Let me see if I can find it for you. Let me see if I can find it for you. I don't know if I can find it. Brandon Johnson, large gatherings. This was 10 months ago. And Brandon Johnson was debating, literally debating with reporters when they said, listen, man, you need to get these people in line. You need to stop catering to what's going on in the streets as far as trying to be politically correct and just call a spade a spade. I remember, listen, he got on the same suit, different tie, similar shirt, same suit, different tie, similar shirt, right? And this is what he called it.
Also at 4:30, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson opening up on everything from the migrant crisis to teen takeovers.
Since he took office in May, he hasn't fielded questions from reporters very often. Among those asking them today, CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kozlov. And Dana, Mayor Johnson spent about an hour talking with the press.
Yeah, Jim and Marie, and the most recent incident of teenagers and young adults converging and overwhelming in one area of the city was a big topic of conversation. It just happened this past weekend. And in that instance, they caused a lot of damage. The mayor responded this way, though, when someone characterized it as mob action.
That's not appropriate. We're not talking about mob actions. I didn't say that. Hold on a second, okay? Respectfully.
You know what I'm about to do, right?
These large gatherings, just hold on a second, y'all.
Hey. We're not talking about mob action. This is, give me a moment. I know what you guys are trying to do. You're trying to get me to identify the suspects as having mob ties like the Drake song. What I'm telling you, you gonna let me finish? I gave you the opportunity to ask the question. What we're not going to do is identify these young people going outside, stepping on people's cars, shooting, killing, terrorizing businesses as anything other than large gatherings. Now, we're going to extrapolate all of the data. We're going to contact the archdiocese. We have a migrant crisis that's frankly, not our fault. It is the devil down there in Texas and Greg Abbott. He continues to send migrants up here, and he's not going according to our schedule. And we're going to stay vigilant. We're going to be fervent in prayers. We've been contacting faith leaders all across Chicago in order to ensure that these large gatherings are prayed for, and we're going to anoint it with oil in Jesus' name. Amen.
Promise you, we have time to talk.
We got it.
It's important that we speak of these dynamics in an appropriate way.
Absolutely.
This is not to obfuscate what is actually taking place.
You know he gonna throw a big word in there. This is not to this is not to obfuscate. Jesus Christ.
This was the scene near Roosevelt and Canal Sunday night. Groups looted a
large
convenience
gathering.
store.
Anyways, I just wanted to remind y'all of what he said 10 months ago, okay? So now, as far as this violent summer and kids are getting out of school and everything is going south over there in Chicago, you know, we just had a 19-year-old young girl that graduated, and she just got the ooh-op shebang put to her head, and they have no suspects. They never have any suspects. Mama crying, sister lying. You know what I'm saying? And it's bad out there in Chicago. And so we know, based off of a report, that there's a more than 2,000 person officer shortage. 2,000, not 200, not 20, not 250. 2,000 officers are short. Don't nobody want to work in there in Chicago. Detectives is overwhelmed. Police officers overwhelmed. The officers is making $100,000, $150,000 in overtime. One of the officers was making almost $250,000 in overtime. But Brandon Johnson decided that he wanted to address this directly because the aldermen and the police officers are called. They said, Brandon, you got to do something with us, baby. Baby boy, Mayor Mohawk, listen, put the makeup down and come back to the front of the congregation. We need you to do something for us, big dog. Thank you, Psychedelic Sense. I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. We got to do something. We got to get a curfew, 8 p.m. Once the lights go down, it get ugly out here. And if we see anybody that's under the age of 18 without an accompanied adult, then we need to be able to send them home because we got to do something out here in these streets. Help us. Help us be able to save the streets of Chicago. Help us prevent another death out here in these streets. And so Mayor Brandon Johnson responded. Take a look.
Yeah.
A lot of updates today from Chicago City Council.
And one of the topics being discussed is that proposed 8 p.m. curfew for teens in the city. Political reporter Paris Schutz is live from City Hall with the latest for us. Paris?
Yeah, Sylvia and Terrence, Second Ward Alderman Brian Hopkins says it was police in his district that came to him asking for an earlier curfew for unaccompanied minors. So
the police, not some political leader, not just the people, the police, the ones that are on the street at the forefront of this war over in Chicago that's been happening for more than 2 decades. The police is out here. They say, please, Johnson, Mohawk, put a curfew in place. Give us some tools in order to be able to save these people's lives. And this is what Johnson's perspective was.
Under this proposed ordinance, kids would have to be off the street in Streeterville and downtown after 8 p.m. or accompanied by an adult.
Had they had the ability to break this crowd up, they knew they were underage, they could have potentially prevented that attack that caused great bodily harm to that young couple. The groups are gathering earlier. They're gathering on the beach. You know, the beach closes at 11 p.m. The curfew kicks in at 10 p.m. So an ordinance like this can help remove the young people a little bit earlier and get them safely home.
So Hopkins there is referencing that attack that happened to that young couple last week in Streeterville. He's saying if this ordinance was in place, perhaps cops could have come and broken these crowds up. The current curfew is 10 p.m. It's unclear how it's really enforced. Hopkins says police wouldn't arrest the unaccompanied minors, simply remove them, take them to the nearest police station, and then contact an adult to take them home. Now, you may remember former Mayor Lightfoot instituted a 6 p.m. curfew at Millennium Park on weekends. Current Mayor Brandon Johnson has yet to rescind this curfew, but he says he has a lot of questions about this Hopkins ordinance.
If a young person has to be accompanied by an adult, what is the definition of an adult?
I feel like I'm on a Monday night panel. I honestly believe that we're on a this feels like a Monday night panel where they will say they start to move the goalposts, and then they say, well, what is the definition of a woman exactly? Man, what are you talking about, bro? Seriously? Jesus Christ. This is y'all leaders. These are your leaders over there in Chicago, dog. Listen, don't sit here and tell me that Anton should not be holding accountable the people that's on these platforms continuing to promote this violence by not saving you from yourself and doing the thing that they elected to do. This man just sit here in front of our face and said, well, wait a minute, guys. What is the exact definition of an adult now? What?
Is it an 18-year-old? Is it a 19-year-old? Is it a 21-year-old? These are just reasonable questions. And, if a child is downtown at 8:01 with an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old friend, does that count as the accompaniment?
I've seen plenty of other news reports. I tried to source through them in order to get the best one for you guys, to not paint a narrative that's negative. And every other news report, they basically saying that he flat out rejected the proposal from the police, from the people on the ground, and said, listen, we are not instituting a curfew. We're going to let these young people go out here and throw these bullets out in these streets. We're going to let them be in all of the tourist areas, and we're going to see what happens. We're just going to let the chips lie where they may. So one of the worst candidates for mayor. I'm going to do an award ceremony at the end of the year where I basically break down who's the winner of the worst mayor, worst governor, bag fumbler of the year, the whole 9 yards. But ladies and gentlemen, that's what's happening over in Chicago. Let me read some of the super chats, and then we're going to continue on with the show. Larry Summers says, what are these cities going to do now that Saudi Arabia is off the petrol dollar? The days of printing unlimited money are over. Can they be responsible? Shout out to Larry Summers. I appreciate you, big dog. David R. says, these evil politicians remind me of a movie, Little Nicky. I remember Little Nicky. Passing backwards laws, causing havoc in America. Governor Newsome reminds me of Adrian. Shout out to my dog, David R. Also want to give a highlight and a shout out to my girl, Psychedelic Sense, with the $5 on here on Cash App. Thank you, Psychedelic Sense, for always holding me down and seeing to it that you're supporting the platform. Again, we don't ask for it, but we absolutely appreciate it. Thank you for always holding us down. Also, on top of that, I want to encourage you guys to get that Tiege Hanley. Tiege Hanley is a sponsor of the show. 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. Has never been a better time to get Tiege Hanley. That link is in the description. Ladies, get it for the fellas. Fellas, don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. And then last but not least, I also want to make sure that you guys understand that if you are not a part of the Bag Chasers, if you're not a part of Stock Club, you will not be at the meetup in July. We will be in Houston. I am making an announcement on Patreon. We will be in Houston and we will be holding it down. So in addition to all of the mastermind sessions and everything that we've done previously, the Stock Club sessions is up there. The meetup is going to be free for everybody to jump in, and we're going to get it rocking. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to y'all. Also want to give a shout out to my dog, High Tolerance, says Chicago's got the Blues Brothers on Bike Patrol. Shout out to my dog, High Tolerance. I appreciate you for the super chat. All right, y'all. We got a couple more segments that we got to get into. We got the time, we got the money, we got the place, we got the studio, we got y'all. We feeling good. It's Thursday. Some of y'all got paid today. Don't fumble the bag. And now we got to make sure that we get to the root causes of some of the issues that's happening out in these streets. But before we get into the reaction video, because I want to react to a woman that made an announcement. She's a YouTuber and she's also an entrepreneur, but she's making a decision, or she's trying to come to the decision of whether or not she want to close her business or not. First things I want to do is I want to revisit California really quickly, because In-N-Out surprised the people. Yes, they did. Not only did they pull out of Oakland, but they also decided that they wanted to raise the prices over in the spaces that they still hover in California. All right? Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get it.
Bay Area residents have been experiencing sticker shock when it comes to food, whether at grocery stores or restaurants. And tonight, In-N-Out has recently joined other chains in hiking its prices to keep up with the new minimum wage increase. KTVU's Betty Yu joins us live tonight after speaking with some customers in Alameda. Betty.
Mike, I've been speaking with customers, and the response has been really quite varied regarding these price increases. Now, some of them were a bit shocked at the slight price increase. Others didn't notice at all. But take a look at this drive-through line at this hour. Now, this is not uncommon, but if it's any indication, the demand for In-N-Out is strong.
Thanks, Chris.
Pittsburgh resident Chris Halika says he eats at In-N-Out every other week.
The price increase, I understand, because...
Oh, no. Oh, no. Not the Soldier Boy jury. Hold on. This guy looks like a Sims character. Whoa, hold on, big dog. Before we get over into the price increase, I need to understand exactly what's going on. You got that weak chain. You got them glasses on, no mustache, no beard, got makeup on. And then you got that thin in hair. Why do guys hold on to that thin in hair? Hey, just let it go, big dog. Listen, we all get there. Some of us get there faster than others. Some of us never get there, but the majority of us get there. Listen, you do better just hitting it with the razor in the morning, making sure that you keep your beard tight, grow you a little bit of facial hair, get you a mustache. This guy literally looks like a Sims character. And he got that weak chain on, but we gonna get to the price increases. Let's continue.
Economy's kind of bad.
The company said it increased prices across California the same day the state's fast food minimum wage law took effect. In-N-Out said in a statement to KTVU, on April 1st, we raised our prices incrementally to accompany a pay raise for all of the associates working in our California restaurants. The price increase was also necessary to maintain our quality standards.
What happens in order to be able to pay people more money? They have to pass that on to the consumer. And so while y'all complaining about the prices of food and all of the stuff that's happening in all of these cities, these restaurants are not going to take a loss. Only one of two things can happen. Only one of two things can happen. Either they raise the prices and pass that on to the consumer, or they close up shop. Either they raise prices, pass that over to the consumer, and they close up shop. Meanwhile, usually what smart business owners do is they wind up innovating enough to where they don't have to have they don't have to have workers, or they have to have a minimal amount of workers in order to make sure that they run their business. They stop getting out of the whole people business part of it, right? But essentially what they're doing, and what a lot of other restaurants is doing over in California, is they're trying to incrementally, what incrementally means is that a little bit at a time, they're raising up prices, and then they giving it over to the consumer. So you guys are the ones that's going to pay for the raises of the fast food workers that y'all got over there in California.
I've always heard that In-N-Out treats their employees well. It seems like that's part of their branding, and so we're definitely down to support that, especially in the Bay Area when cost of living is so high.
The starting wage for In-N-Out workers is $22 to $23 an hour based on the location, which is higher than the state.
$22 to $23 an hour for somebody in a drive-through line. It just doesn't seem real. How much was we making? $5, $6, $7 an hour when we got to make? We was happy. It was a McDonald's down the street from my street, like a block and a half down the street. And all of the young dudes, if they wanted to work and they didn't want to be on the streets, they went and got a job at McDonald's. Or they went across the street to AutoZone, or they went and got a job over at Aldi's, or they went to work at Kroger's. Because you could walk to your job, or they went and got a job at Jet's Pizza, or they went and got a job at the Foot Action and stuff like that, right? And I just remember so many young guys, they were so happy to be able to get a paycheck at the end of the week or every 2 weeks. And I just remember it being so, $22, $23 an hour is insane. I mean, when you start to think about it from that lens, and then people say, oh man, all cars is like $100,000 an hour. It seems like you can option up these cars $60,000, $70,000. Well, if you actually do the calculations based off of what minimum wage was and what fast food prices was back in the day, and how inflation has basically hit everything, either you're going to be rich or you're going to be poor nowadays.
State's new $20 minimum wage.
Especially coming from Georgia, California prices are a little bit higher, but when I came to In-N-Out and I was spending $20 on a meal, it's definitely something that I did not expect at all.
Khalil Coleman just moved to Oakland from Georgia 2 weeks ago. For Halika, the pricing is all relative. For example, a double-double meal.
Why would you move from Georgia to Oakland? That's insane.
The In-N-Out in San Francisco is the most expensive in the Bay Area at over $13. The same meal in Alameda costs just under $12. Diners pay slightly less at the San Jose or Pittsburgh locations.
It's not bad. You know what I mean? If it's what it is, as long as it don't go over $20, I'm fine with it.
Still, inflation remains stubbornly high as the Federal Reserve is set to release its latest policy statement Wednesday. Unfortunately for consumers, the Fed is widely expected to keep rates steady.
Where do you
feel the pinch the most these days?
Definitely in going out for meals, so we're trying to do it less often.
Was it worth it today?
Was it worth it? I don't know.
Now, earlier this year, Wall Street predicted 3 rate cuts for 2024, but now some economists are scaling that back down to 2. Now, again, tomorrow morning, we are expecting that snapshot of U.S. inflation to come out. Mike?
I expect rate cuts personally because I think that it's an election year. And so in order to make sure that people feel a little bit more comfortable about the state of the economy or the direction of the economy, I think that they're going to wind up cutting rates in order to make sure that people feel better about an election year. This is the CEO or co-CEO of Raising Cane's. I don't really care for this guy. I like Raising Cane's. I think that it's a decent franchise. I don't have anything wrong, any problem with Raising Cane's in particular. But this guy does a lot of posturing that I've seen him in a previous interview before. So much so that I didn't even want to use this interview. But I haven't seen him on CNBC based off of the recent minimum wage food hikes over in California. So I want to get a different perspective, and I want to see what he has to say.
Let's also be clear. Your costs are going up with it. McDonald's, Wendy's, In-N-Out Burger, Burger King, and many others all raising menu prices.
Over 10,000 jobs has already been cut since last fall over into January. This was from CNBC. Let me continue.
Prices in California since that edict came down from Sacramento. And now many restaurants are also cutting jobs, rewarding the best employees with more hours, but likely whacking the rest. Let's talk about all of it with AJ Kumaran. He is the man helping run one of our and America's favorite places. That is Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's is 91 locations in California. AJ also a member of the board of directors of the New Orleans branch of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. So we got two Fed members on the show tonight. It's wonderful. AJ, again, people want people to do well. California is stupid expensive to live. We want everybody to make as much as they possibly can. But what ultimately is the impact on prices and the consumer?
Good to see you, Brian. You know, we did take a price increase. Most companies have to. When things like this happen, you have to pass it along to the consumer.
He just said it. Before he even do any of his pandering and posturing, he basically just said it. He said, look, we did the same thing as In-N-Out. When we had to raise prices, when it came to the amount of money that we paying our workers, we basically pass that on to y'all. We not absorbing that. And so it always kills me a lot of times when people say stuff like, oh man, the company made this, they need to share the profits with the people in the... No, that's not what's going to happen. Ain't no CEO taking no pay cut. Ain't no upper management person taking no pay cut. You the person that's going to absorb the cost. Yeah, you. Yep, you. Every time you go out, and y'all can say, I see people in the chat, oh man, you know what, I don't eat fast food. It's across the board. It's in the grocery store. It's in the grocery store, it's in the restaurants, in the fast food, it's in the gas prices, in the cars you buy. It's in everything. Tree trimming, construction costs, everything is passed on to the consumer. Nobody is going to be taking a haircut. Nobody in upper management. They're going to figure out how to market it to you differently. They're going to downsize the food sizes. They're going to up the prices. They're going to sell you more drinks. They're going to put more air inside of the chip bags. Whatever it is that they got to do in order to make sure they got people dedicated on the front lines to making sure that they cut every single thing that they can possibly cut. And instead of getting a bag, you're going to be getting just a piece of paper. Whatever it is that they got to do, they going to make sure that they give you that price increase while cutting costs for themselves.
We did take some margin hit. We took our prices about 7%. That meant some margin hit to our business overall. However, you know, we are seeing great response. We're not seeing any negative backlash at all. We haven't cut any hours. We haven't laid off any crew members. We will never do that. In fact, we're doing pretty well, you know. We haven't taken any sort of value approach or discounting of any sort. So we try to hit the everyday value, and that's what we really offer, and that's what we stick with. And by the way, one thing that is not really talked about a lot is that, yes, it's a $20 minimum wage for hourly workers, but it's also $84,000 minimum for salaried managers. So net is a pretty big impact, but we are able to...
$84,000 salary minimum for the managers? Managers over in fast food places is making $84,000 a year? Telling me you could be a manager at a man, let me get up out of here. Y'all over there, y'all got the wrong jobs. Forget the warehouses, forget the plants and all of that. Listen, hey, forgetting working on the line, forget the UAW. You telling me you can go and be a manager at a fast food joint and make $84,000 a year? $84,000 a year for one person at a fast food joint. I feel like I'm in a Twilight Zone. What year is this?
To kind of take a little bit of margin, a little bit in price, and make it work.
But you're one of the hottest chains in America, super fast growing. You're not even like, you don't even have fans. You have like cult members. They just need the sauce, if you know what I mean, AJ. And if you had it, you know what I mean. But I would imagine a lot of places that are not you guys are having to raise prices. They are having to lay people off, because I've talked to some business owners. They say, I'm going to give my best employees more hours.
Hey, Brittany B, we going over there to Raising Cane's or no? If y'all see me switch this hat out and I got a Raising Cane's, hey, Raising Cane's, man, send me a check, man. Send me a check. I want an endorsement from Raising Cane's. I'm up here sitting there talking about how good it, man.
More money in their pocket, if they want them, of course, and I'm going to whack the rest.
You know, look, I've heard the same stories that you're talking about. Most businesses have taken 10 to 12% increases. Here's the challenge. When you're coming into it with a pretty tight margin and not enough consumer interest, it's a struggle. You know, we're thankful. We are blessed, like you said. We have cult fans, cult following, Caniacs, we call them. So that's helpful. So, and we always have done the right thing. We've never compromised on our quality. We've never compromised on taking care of our crew members. We've never compromised on taking care of our customers and our community. So when we do something, when we take price increase, they clearly know that there is no other choice, you know?
That's crazy. Shout out to the fast food places and the fast food managers that's making $84,000 a minimum a year. Jesus Christ. That just tell me that I'm going to make sure that I'm going to stay out of the food business, because I'm not built for that. Anyways, I want to move over into one last thing before we get up out of here. You know, I like to review and see what's happening in these streets. Did I do that right? No, there we go. Should this woman close her business? Now, I noticed this particular content creator. Somebody sent this video over to me, and she got a significant amount of followers, but I always like to give credit over to the content creators before I review their video. So I like to look at it authentically. I do not want to review the video without you guys, because I want to react to it in real time. And so whether I agree or disagree, her name is Angela Jasmina. Angela Jasmina, she has 267,000 subscribers. So she out here killing the game when it comes to her content creation. I'm not sure how much she uploads or what her upload schedule is or what her following is, but her name is Angelina Jasmina. And the question that she's asking is, should she close her business or start over, because it's bad out here in these streets? All right. So first of all, I want to say that shout out to the business owners and shout out to the people that actually take a risk and put their money into themselves or their own businesses in order to open up something that other people could not or would not put their money up for. Because when you put your own money up, you just got to be congratulated. And when you hiring people or you trying to run a business, it is very hard. I mean, it is incredibly hard, especially for people that is not necessarily familiar, or they doing it for the first time. And I don't know what her history is. I've never followed her. I don't know who she is. But I definitely want to react to this, and I want to give my thoughts and see if we can mine out something of value, and then also give her more visibility or maybe even some support depending on what she's doing. All right, so make sure that y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get it.
Good morning, happy Friday. It's Friday for me, y'all. It's probably Monday. Happy Monday to y'all.
Look like she married.
We are at Dunkin' waiting for my coffee. Get a medium iced caramel latte with 1 extra pump of caramel. Keenan has now hopped on board. I didn't know I had a cut in my eyebrow. That's the hot pink. And made it to the warehouse, had my coffee. I need to upload the video.
So she has a separate location. She's not working out of her home. She actually has a warehouse or a location that she's running her business in.
That'll go up today.
What is that on the wall? Is that blood? Is that coffee? Is that a drink?
Business vlog. I don't know the name of it yet. It's gonna be like this one. And so I need to upload that. The white ruffle gown should be restocking today. The hot pink and lavender gown should be restocking. The camo gowns as well. Don't quote me on that. It's 8 boxes. Should be here today, but you never know until they get here. So y'all see in this video if they show up or not. And then after that, I need to make a TikTok, and that's my early schedule for the day. So let me get this video uploaded to YouTube. Go ahead and post the video. Ow! I started recording the TikTok. Got first like 6 seconds done. And then I'm gonna go embroider this order. She ordered 4 Ruffle Bum Bubbles personalized with names. Thank you so much, Michelle. And yes, publish this, and then we'll get to finishing the TikTok and recording the video. Guys, look, Keenan made his first design all by himself, his first kid's design, like designed it, colors and all. Did a good job. Place it a little bit low, but we'll just fold it for the picture, and it'll look great. So, A-. Let me finish recording this TikTok. Listen, we ain't gonna talk about the mess, okay? No talking.
So it looked like she's invested a significant amount of money into her business, right? And somebody in the chat said that she does kids' clothes. Keita, you said that you used to follow her. Why'd you stop following her? I'm interested in why you used to follow her. Or maybe you still follow her, you just haven't necessarily tapped into any of her content. Let me say a couple different things, just assessing this whole situation right away. So I'm not sure if that's her husband or not that's working in the background. Like I said, it looks like she's invested a significant amount of money. And there's some costs that's associated with it because A, if you got employees, you got to pay their employees regardless of whether or not you're bringing in revenue. B, you got to continue to market your products. C, you got to pay the rent for the warehouse. You got to keep the lights on. And then D, she also looks like she has another job in creating content. And all of her content is custom, meaning that she's going through and she's editing out every single cut. She's recording, she's setting up the camera, she's uploading the video. And so whatever she's doing, she got to be doing it. She got to be putting at least 10, 12, 13, 14, 15-hour days. Every day. Every day. No weekends off. At least 12 to 14-hour days every single day. And I see one problem with the business. It looks like the fact that she's... Now, okay, let me talk about the benefit. The fact that she has a large following and more visibility as of the recording this video, she has over 267,000 subscribers, helps for her to be able to promote the business. And so that's the marketing strategy. You can leverage the visibility that you have on social media in order to get the word out that other people that starting businesses in general, they don't have that caveat. They don't have that up. So I'm assuming that that's where a large amount of her sales come from is social media marketing, TikTok, YouTube, so on and so forth, right? The other side of it is custom, doing every single thing custom and not being able to duplicate it in order to A, cut costs, and B, you don't get no days off because you automatically got to make sure that every single order is fulfilled according to whatever the custom. And I don't know if she does only custom or all custom or she sells, one product a whole lot of times, but having that custom service and having to do that every single day is insane. It's hard to scale that. You can't scale it. One of the things that I recognize being in the restaurant business, specifically, one of my restaurants that I had open, my first restaurant that I had open had largely been selling soul food. But when I started getting into the business and I realized how difficult it was to be able to duplicate the process, because the goal initially, when I was building it with my father, was to open up multiple different stores and then eventually maybe franchise it out. But then I realized, wait a minute, there are no franchises with regard to soul food. Why? Because it's so difficult, because everything is custom to the area that you in. Everybody had it differently. Yo mama did it different from they mama. This mama used more salt. This mama used 3 cheeses. And so everybody's taste buds is different. And so it is a very difficult business, that business in particular, to be able to scale, especially when you're bringing it to different markets, or, they do it different down south, or they do it different up north and all of that. And so everybody's had it different. Even white people love soul food, but they have it different than what it is that they had inside of your crib, right? And so when you start to talk about customization, when you open up a business, you always want to think scale. How can I make it easier for myself to continue to run this business effectively, while at the same time being able to grow the business from a profitability perspective while keeping costs minimal, Let me continue to see what she got going on.
About the mess. I just tried to record this TikTok so I can go work. I mean, this isn't
Let's
order.
go work.
Like trying to I have 2 block shirts that have to ship today. Michelle placed an order yesterday. I really would like to make a TikTok about that. I'm gonna try. But it's so messy. Okay, blues on that one. Green on the other. Julio. Backing holders. 12 to 18 months, I'm gonna use a 7.25 inch Mighty Hoop, 5.5 inch Mighty Hoop for 3 to 6 months. Code Kids Custom for free shipping. All right, let's make this tickety-tockety.
Make sure y'all support her business. All right, I don't want to do all of the music. Let me see if I can get towards the core, what she got going on. She working. A lot of people don't think that you work your business. It ain't just throwing money in something and that's the end of the conversation. You work.
Tea and 6 to 12 ruffle bone. We don't have that many 2 tea.
Cutting boxes, getting deliveries, doing custom orders and all of that stuff, man. I want to see her sentiment. I want to see where she's talking about the business itself.
Order. I just keep getting bad news after bad news after bad news. It's 1 o'clock. Gotta pull these blank orders. It's not many. So those who ordered, thank you. For the last year, really, business has been bad. But like the last 3 months, like literally, it's so bad. And never thought I'd get to this point. Just feel like I've tried everything. We've ran crazy sales for the Lang Suite. Sold embroidered stuff as cheap as we can to try to get sales in, just anything. So we're trying to do the pre-order to try to get money now for the products. It's just frustrating when you've literally tried everything and it just feels like everything that I've done so far for the last 8 years is just disappearing.
A lot of people don't understand how difficult it is. And I know it's a lot of people that also say, oh man, I'm gonna just start my own business, whatever. I can't wait to work for myself instead of working for somebody else. Yeah, okay. Okay, until you get into it. And guess what? That rent still due for that facility. The machines still need maintenance. Employees still got to get paid. You basically on a hamster wheel. And so at some point, I think that most entrepreneurs in a first business endeavor, I'm not sure if this is our first in general, but for the most part, most entrepreneurs come to a crossroads where they have to make a decision. Even if you're profitable, are you profitable enough for it to make sense for you to continue with the business? Because could you be allocating your time towards something that's actually more fruitful from a financial perspective? It's not always good to just own your business. And maybe you did well 1 year, or maybe it was going really well on 1 year and then you had to scale back, or it had to be a whole nother conversation another year. And I got so much love and respect for entrepreneurs because I know what you're feeling. I know what you feel. I know what you go through. We are all serial entrepreneurs in a way, and we all continue to mine out and figure out what makes sense and what don't make sense. But it's hard. It got to be hard, and I feel her pain. I actually got a lot of love and support for her.
Like the amount of pressure. Obviously, our family's bills, the whole family relies on this income, obviously. But then there's other 2 families also, or 2 employees. I'm just like in shock because I feel like I've done so much, contributed so much, and like people. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what else to do. Literally tried so much, but now it's to the point, it's just, we have 1.5 years left on the lease. We don't even have the finances to get to next month.
One of the things that I mentor entrepreneurs on as far as negotiating leases is that you need to do an escalating lease, especially when you get into warehouses, especially when you get into brick and mortar. And what an escalating lease is, and I shouldn't even be telling y'all this because this is the type of game that we give inside of the Patreon. So make sure you get a coaching call, Anton Daniels 413@gmail.com, and make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. One of the things that I negotiate or that I negotiate whenever you're going into a brick and mortar space is you want to do an escalating lease. An escalating lease is they're going to want you to sign on for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, right? Which means that you're on the hook and they can come back and sue you if you break that lease early. Now, the business itself may be going bad, but you can minimize the impact and get out of that lease earlier than possible, or earlier if the business goes bad, but it gives you the option to be able to renew at the same price as if it's going good. So let's say, for example, I sign a 10-year lease, right? And I say, listen, I'll guarantee the first 2 years. But what if I build up the business and it starts thriving and then everything around me starts booming too? I don't want you to come back to me and say, well, Anton, you only signed on for 2 years. I want to have the lease go up or escalate because you're doing really well. And then all of these businesses around you is thriving. So the price of the brick is moving up as a business owner. So you can't come back to me because I got a 10-year lease. Now, how do I prevent myself from being on a hook for that 10-year lease? Well, the escalating lease is you guarantee for 2, but then you give yourself an option to renew at a greater price every single year. So for example, let's say you wanted $5,000 a month for this particular spot. I say, no, because that's empty over there and that's empty over there. And if I lease this, I'm going to bring you more business because, you know what I'm saying, I'm bringing more foot traffic and all of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do $3,000 a year the first 2 years. The next year after that, I'll pay you $3,500. Next year after that, I'll pay you $3,700. Next year after that, I'll pay you $4,000. Next year after that, but I want the option to renew. So if it goes bad, then I can basically get up out of here. But at the same time, you get a guaranteed 2 years with the option for the next 10 years if everything is going well. And then I guarantee you I'll do more business with you at the other places because I'm thinking about opening up some other locations. So when you having these conversations with these landlords, or you're having conversations with people with these brick and mortar locations and you're looking to step out, right? Make sure that you still protect yourself because a lot of times we're so ignorant because we don't know. You don't have the information. You've never got a coaching call. You don't know what mentorship looks like. You've never tapped into people that know how to do it. And so you got a lot of people that say, and they give you this bad game and they say, well, you know what? I'm going to open up my own business. I'm going to just go sign a lease. You don't even know what the market rate is for that particular location. You don't know what they're charging per square foot. You don't know what the development cost is. Don't you know that while you're developing a location that you can actually negotiate for not paying rent until the location is already launched and you can give yourself an extra 3 months in order to build up the capital in order to sustain the business? But because you don't know that or because you never tapped in and got mentorship, you just winging it. And I'm not talking about her in particular, but I'm giving you game on how it is that you can go about looking at everything from a business perspective and leveraging information from people that know better than you, because I had to tap in and learn it from other people that knew better than me. I had mentorships. I paid a whole lot of money to gain this information. And so now I'm giving it to you. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. This is why we got the biggest army in the nation. This is why the Bag Chasers is the biggest army out here, because the value that we bring and we give to each other, including in the Discord, make sure y'all tap into the Discord. The link to the Discord is in the description of any of the most recent videos inside of the Patreon. This is why we almost 7,500 members strong inside of the Bag Chasers. That's a fact, though. That's not pretend. That's a fact, though. This is why we over 7,500 members strong. Shout out to the new Chasers. This is why we over 7,500 members strong inside of the Chasers. That's a fact, though, because the value that we bring, whether it's from a business, whether it's professionally, whether you interviewing for another job, whether you running up a bag, is priceless. Is worth $15. Some of y'all got it for $9 and y'all locked in for life. Now we doing Stock Club. We've been doing that since the beginning of the year in order to be able to leverage your assets to make more money over a period of time. The greatest group that you can get in is the Chasers. That's a fact. But let me continue to hear what she got to say, and then we're going to wrap this up because we got to jump into a meeting at 9:30.
And I just kept hoping that like something would pick up. But that's the problem when your business relies on social media. Because right now, like, YouTube videos are not getting viewed at all. TikTok videos are not getting viewed. Instagram videos are not getting viewed. So without those things, you can't get new customers.
She depended on winning basically the algorithm in order for her to sustain her business. That's not a good business practice.
Customers tried email marketing. We tried so much and nothing seems to be working. And I know like the economy is garbage right now. Like our sales would be for a company that just started like yesterday. That's how bad our sales have been. And
listen, let me give her a round of applause for being transparent. I also want to acknowledge the fact that it takes a lot of guts and a lot of courage to actually tell people that you're going through something and to being honest about what it is that's happening in your business.
I'm just shocked. I guess I've been in denial for so long because I just know like every time if I just work hard at it, it works. If I just don't give up, it works. I stay up, I list things, I make things, I come up with things, and it's just like, it doesn't get seeded, so it doesn't sell. That's the issue of selling on like other platforms, because I have no control over whether Etsy shows my items. Only I control is my own website, and it's like nothing. It's nothing. I don't even know how to get out of a lease. I don't know. But with the good, I show y'all the good, and I show you the bad. It's bad. Let me get these orders shipped. Very great.
Not for the weak. Capitalism is not for the weak. A lot of people always talking about starting businesses, but very few people actually show you and tell you the other side of it. I got so much respect for this woman.
For these orders. Thank you guys. All right, these are the orders. Just finished pulling them. Again, thank you guys so much for your orders. I'm gonna go ahead and get them packaged.
Shout out to her again. Let me give her a highlight. Angela Jasmina. If you go and you like the video and you appreciate what it is that she does, and you like her platform, and you find her as a result of rocking with me, let her know that I sent you. Dope content creator. I have a lot of respect for the transparency, and I always want to give credit where credit is due. So shout out to her. I hope her business goes well, and I hope she gets the information she needs in order to be successful. One of the things I would do is I would absolutely call the landlord, and I would be like, hey, it's rough out here, so on and so forth. This is what we need to do. I will move that business back into my crib, wherever it is that y'all said that she started from, and I will run it up from there. All right? So shout out to her. I hope she does well, and I hope that life changes for her as far as in a positive way and her business actually thrives. Sometimes it's time to walk away too. Let me read a couple of super chats, and then I'm going to get y'all up out of here for the day. Jeweled Alchemy Soap Company says, running a small business where you do it all is definitely not for the faint of heart. Prepping until midnight, pack at 4 a.m. is not unusual for us. And sometimes we don't even sleep, man. It's crazy. We don't even know what a weekend look like. Glow Hardy says, man, when you going to open up a seat at the table, Johns? Big Glow need a seat at, how you know I ain't already added some people to the seat at the table? Yeah. Yep, you got to be a part of the $15 tier in order to be able to get a seat at the table, all right? So I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you, Big Glow, for supporting the platform. I appreciate you. And for everybody that continues to tap into the Millionaire Morning Show, this is the greatest morning show on earth, bar none. Absolutely, Fatty. She does need to downgrade. So shout out to Jasmine, Angela Jasmina. Shout out to everybody that supports the platform. Pan-Africanism Strikes Back says she can always hit the blade. Jesus Christ. Come on, man. We don't want our content creators to hit the blade, big dog. We don't want them selling box. Not that 40 ball. Nah, that ain't going to get it, bro. That ain't going to get it. You can't sell enough 40 balls. But yeah, man, this is the greatest morning show on earth, bar none. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. I'm looking forward to unveiling the new format and what we're going to be doing, the new changes that's going to be happening over at the Anton Daniels channel starting next week. Also, can we get a round of applause for Rita, because we're going to be celebrating our 20th anniversary next week. 20 years in the game of being successfully married. Not content creation, not the internet, not these wild hyenas, not people that's wishing and praying for your downfall, not the streets, not none of that can break what it is that we building over here at the Millionaire Morning Show, the Anton Daniels channel, after hours, or in our relationships. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Shout out to Rita. Shout out to 20 years in the game and doing it even more and greater and bigger and going forward. In my opinion, that is one of the biggest accomplishments, especially in this climate, to be married and successfully married and thriving after 20 years, after all of the negative downfall and people all wishing on your downfall. It's a sight to behold. Stop following these famous people. Stop following these entertainers, rappers, and all of this, these fly-by-night relationships. We can give you the game on how to be really successfully married in real life. Real people, real life, real information. Not any of these fake people that's going to tell you the talking points of somebody else. I'm going to give you the real life game. All right? I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And we going to run it up. All right? Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank you, everybody that support the platform. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Send this to your family and friends, because we don't want to be rich by ourselves. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to see y'all tonight for after hours. And then tomorrow, Millionaire Morning Show. Peace.